We have an incoming transmission. It's Zero.
Get this info to X. I've discovered Sigma's base. I'm sending the coordinates now.
We've located you, Zero. I'm on my way.
Okay, but listen. This place is more secure than I thought. Let's split up their forces. Find another route in.
Mega Man Maverick Hunter X.
Welcome back to more Let's Play Mega Man Maverick Hunter X. We are doing some housekeeping before we actually move on to the Sigma Palace itself. First things first, showing off Storm Tornado. It's still fantastic even in the remake. Second of all, I am refilling all of my my sub-tanks, because obviously you want 4 full sub-tanks before you enter the Sigma Palace. Not necessarily for the very beginning of the palace, but you just generally want to have that that kind of insurance before you go in case anything weird happens. The batons from Mega Man 2 are still there, and from the original Mega Man X, it's still there. It still has a high chance of giving you lives if you're looking to farm for lives. This is still a great stage to farm for health. There is a much better spot later down the path that I showed off in the previous video. Storm Tornado is still a fantastic weapon. So as I said in the previous video, if you want to go after Storm Eagle earlier, like after Chill Penguin and after Flame Mammoth, so you can have this weapon earlier, feel free. It's still just as super powerful in this game as it is in the original. There are some things that are less that are more resistant to it, like the Mechanoid mini boss from Spark Mandrill's stage is a little bit more resistant to it, so I wouldn't recommend you use it for that. But overall, Storm Tornado is still pretty fantastic for a Maverick weapon, and it's still one of the this is still one of the better collection of weapons that we have throughout the entire Mega Man franchise overall. Also showing off as part of my housekeeping, Spark Mandrill stage post defeating Storm Eagle, because again, I'm showing off the fact that some stages do change after you beat if you beat a certain Maverick before entering that stage, and Spark Mandrill is one of those exceptions. We saw at the very beginning of the Spark Mandrill stage why exactly this factory is so messed up, or this why this stage is so messed up. If you beat Storm Eagle first, it's because that plane that we were fighting Storm Eagle on crashes here, and causes damage to this whole place. If you defeat Storm Eagle first, which just makes sense. It's just a nice visual explanation for why this stage changes, showing off that the Fire Wave and the Storm Tornado here don't really work against this Mechanoid as well as it used to in the original X. It still works. It just takes more. And you probably don't want to waste your special weapons on that when you could be using it against regular enemies, to greater success. So I would recommend for that particular mini-boss, again, like in the first video I mentioned, just use your regular X-Buster against that, because it's going to be more effective in the long run. Here I'm just showing off what the rest of the stage is like after beating Storm Eagle first. It's basically exactly the same. It's not, it's only really the beginning area that changes pretty radically. Not having that electricity go through anymore, and there you go. That's it. Let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of the episode and go after the Sigma Palace. So Sigma Palace Stage 1, we saw that the boss of the stage is going to be the Mechanoid, Boss Spider, Bow Spider, whatever you want to call it. Bow Spider is going to operate exactly the same, as we'll see eventually. What isn't exactly the same is the Sigma Palace itself. As you can see, we're not sneaking in through by going up a cliff. We are sneaking in through the sewers here. This is a completely different reimagining of the layout for the Sigma Palace. Honestly, it's pretty good. I don't think one is better than the other, but this isn't bad. This is fine for a final castle. It's also a much better representation of. It does a better job of giving us hints as to who we're going to be fighting in the who we will be fighting throughout the stage. So here we go, cutscene.
Launch Octopus?
I am Launch Octopus. I am under orders to deal with any intruders.
Sigma must have brought his body back to life.
I have been ordered to fight.
Love that they give us an explanation for why the Mavericks are here and refighting us. The bodies have been rebuilt, but with all the personality taken out. Love that. It's awesome. I just wish that the models had changed their eyes there so that we can have the soulless blue eyes like we had in the cutscene. Anyway, still fantastic. Launch Octopus, you can still cut him off with the boomerang cutter. And unlike in the original version, you can stun lock him with his weakness, which makes him an even easier boss than he was in the original. So less of a war of attrition, more just use his weakness until he dies. So hooray, Launch Octopus is dead. I was saying before that the Sigma Palace does a great job of showing off that this version of the Sigma Palace does a better job of showing off and telegraphing which boss you're going to be fighting throughout the palace in the rematches here. So we had that first underwater section that very clearly told us the Launch Octopus would be the first mini boss we fought, which is different than the original. And now we're going to have this whole tower climbing section, which is going to make it pretty clear after about a minute or so that the next boss we're going to be going after is Boomerang Kawanger. The next Maverick that's going to be re-challenging us is going to be Boomerang Kawanger, because we're going to have this whole area that's very, very similar to how Boomerang Kawanger works. So there you go. This is actually a clever little bit of level design here. We have this electricity here and this dead end, and now we realize that we have to have this whole climb up again. Nice hinting towards the fact that the next Maverick we're going to be fighting is Boomerang Kawanger. So I like that about this Sigma Palace. That is a much better thing about the Sigma Palace compared to the original. That it does a much better job of telegraphing which Mavericks you're going to be going up against next based on the level design here. So it's good stuff. Also, we get this whole. We also get a hint of Bow Spider here because we have all this web architecture in the background, hinting that Bow Spider has been traveling along here, putting this stuff together. I don't know. It's really great. The redesign of the Sigma Palace. I like the original Sigma Palace in Mega Man X1. I like how that's all put together. It's really well done, but it's also really well done here for different reasons. So, yeah, good stuff. Here we go with our next Maverick rematch. I'm going to be speeding along a little bit, just those introductions, because they take a while. Boomerang Kawanger. He's weak to Launch Octopus. If you use his weakness on him, he really reacts violently toward it. He really just gets knocked back and really can't do much of anything. So, a boss that was relatively mobile and relatively, somewhat difficult in his original fight, as you may have seen in the previous video, now is really not much of a threat here at all. Just keep hitting him. Mavericks do have very long invincibility frames to give them the opportunity to retaliate in some way, shape, or form. But I mean, by this point, you have all the armor and all the stuff. So at this point, you can just very easily just dodge out of the way and just prepare another hit and such. So I mean, it's good. It's good stuff. This version of the Sigma Palace is quite good. I really like it. And I do like the just like in the original X, we have this whole little power fantasy here. We started off very weak, much weaker than usual, because of just how Mega Man Maverick Hunter X hard mode works, and now here we are having an easy time of things, as should be the case at the end of a Mega Man X game. We start off weak, we get strong, and we enjoy our strength for the time that we had it. For the time that we have it, I should say. Here is our first major Sigma Palace boss. The boss spider, the Mechanoid boss spider, works exactly the same as it did in the original Mega Man X. There's absolutely no differences to its strategy at all. It does the same thing. It's actually a little bit slower moving and telegraphs a little bit more clearly. It has little extra animations for all of its little movements, which it's quite fun. But in terms of the actual mechanics, this is still the Ghost Legs game that I struggled to come up with a name with in the original Mega Man X playthrough. This is still weak to shotgun ice. It still shoots down mini spider robots occasionally that you're going to have to take care of, either with the X Buster or with Storm Tornado or with Fire Wave. Plenty of options to take care of them if those spiders pop up. Keep hitting it with shotgun ice. You know what? I said it's not that much slower. It is slower than it is in the original. So you do have plenty of time to anticipate and read where it's actually going to land. So, overall, the boss spider is actually a little bit easier to deal with than it was in the original game, I would say. Going to summon down some spiders. We're going to go ahead and just take the damage there, I guess, because I didn't do a good job of predicting that. I don't know. What can I say? I'm not the best Mega Man X player of all time. Regardless, the boss spider, the bow spider, the spider mechanoid, whatever you want to call it, is defeated. Time to move on to the next stage.
Mission accomplished.
Alrighty. That's stage 1. Let's jump over to Stigma Palace stage 2. As we can see, it tells us that our boss is going to be Rang Demangda. I do kind of wish that they kept that they don't just telegraph what the bosses are in the stage select for the Stigma Palace specifically. I kind of wish they kept that mystery, but whatever. That's such a small thing. Sigma Palace Stage 2 is entirely different to Sigma Palace Stage 2 in the original. We start off with this whole underground section, because again, this game does a much better job of telegraphing which Mavericks are going to be fighting at any given point in this palace. So obviously in this underground section, we're going to be going up against Armored Armadillo at the end of it, because, I mean, look at this place. Obviously, at the end of it, we're going to be going up against Armored Armadillo. Those walls can be destroyed with the Ride Armor or with any weapon, but the Fire Wave does the most damage to it. Be careful of those... of this driller robot surprise here. It can the spikes that it carries are actual spikes, they are actual Mega Man spikes that will kill you immediately if you come into contact. If you have the right armor, obviously, then the right armor will take that damage, but you don't want to risk that. For this section, I get off the right armor and just use the Fire Wave, because it's just faster to deal with the walls with the Fire Wave as compared to with the right armor. Again, be careful, because those spikes that the drill carries are actual Mega Man spikes that will kill you in one hit, so you want to be careful of that. Our first rematch, again, because this game does a great job of telegraphing who you're going up against, is Armored Armadillo. So here we go with Armored Armadillo again. He is still a pain to deal with, even with all of our upgrades. He's not fun. He is, of the 8 Mavericks, the most difficult of the bosses. He got the most revamped, he got the most abilities, he is the most adamant about initiating contact damage with you in some way. I had a very easy run with Armored Armadillo. I was very lucky to have a very easy run with him for this video, but my goodness, he is not good God. He is just, oh boy, he is, of the 8, he is the worst one. And I say him and not Spark Mandrill, because we'll get to Spark Mandrill in a bit, but there's a reason why Spark Mandrill isn't the worst anymore now that we have all of our powers and stuff. This section was taken right out of Sigma Palace Stage 1. It's used instead now to represent who we're taking on next, which is obviously going to be Storm Eagle, because this is a nice outdoor area, sky high and all that. So here we go. Storm Eagle is our next boss, weak to Sting Chameleon. Similar to what I did in the original Mega Man X, there are some Mavericks that I use their weaknesses in the main, in the main section of the game outside of the final panels. But here in the final panels, I use weaknesses for every single Maverick, so that for anyone whose weakness I have not used yet, you can see firsthand what their weakness actually is. So, you know. Storm Eagle's going to go down pretty quick. It's pretty easy. Even with his 2 new additions to his strategy, he's not that bad. Not really. Now we have a very short section here that very quickly lets us know that the next boss is Spark Mandrill. And the reason why Spark Mandrill is not really that big of a threat compared to Armored Armadillo still here in the end game is because we're going to be using his weakness. And I could have used his weakness back in the first video too if I wanted to, but I wanted to show off just how unfair the contact damage thing was. But just like in the original, Spark Mandrill is overly weak to Chill Penguin's shotgun ice. It freezes him completely. He can't do anything. You have even more room to fire a shot at him than you did in the SNES version. It's much less likely he's going to get any kind of attack off in the PSP version as compared to the SNES version. So yeah, there you go. That's Spark Mandrill real fast. Now we have one final little climb here, very reminiscent to the climb in the actual Sigma Palace Stage 2 in the original SNES version of Mega Man X. Nice and claustrophobic. You can use Sting Chameleon here if you want to, but Storm Tornado is just so powerful at this point that there's really no reason not to. And plus, you want to conserve your Sting Chameleon because Rangdabangda, the boss of Sigma Palace 2, is still weak to Sting Chameleon. Same weakness as in the original, and same basic strategy overall. So, still has two sections, the eye section and the nose section. Nose still has the same three colors. Blue still does the same thing. It still charges at you to initiate contact damage. It's pretty devastating, even with the armor parts. The red is still going to charge at you and shoot at you, and the green is still going to just shoot at you from the eye sockets. The nose still does the same thing. It's actually slower in this version, I guess, compared to the original SNES version. The nose takes the nose moves much slower, and the blue moves so fast that honestly it's quite devastating when Rangdabangda unleashes the blue eyes at you, because it honestly they just move so fast that it's really difficult to deal with them. The nose, if I believe I mentioned in the original, if you take care of the nose first, then you still have to fight the eyes with the walls closed in. In the PSP version, the walls actually open up a little bit more for you to give you some room to walk around in, a little bit of a save there, which I prefer. Honestly, I prefer having the walls pull back a little bit if you defeat the nose first. In the original, as you'll see right here, if you defeat the nose first, then the walls don't pull back at all, and you have to deal with the rest of this boss fight with the walls closed in, which makes the whole thing much more difficult, no matter how little health Rangdabangda has left. Quite difficult overall. I would say Rangdabangda is a boss you're probably going to use a sub-tank on, as compared to Bow Spider, or Boss Spider, or whatever you want to call it. The Spider. The Room, you're probably using a sub-tank as compared to the Spider. That's basically what I'm going to say there. Stage 3, we have the D-Rex, but first, we're going to go ahead and refill our sub-tanks, because we've just used 2 against Rangdabangda. Again, if you're going to be using sub-tanks, you're probably using them against Rangdabangda. Rangdabangda has ways of just really cutting down your health, especially in Maverick Hunter X hard mode. Even with the armor, contact damage is still terrifying to deal with in hard mode for Maverick Hunter X, so be prepared to probably waste a couple of sub-tanks on Rangdabangda. Stage 3 is a total redesign of what it was in the original. In the original, you were in the sort of the in stage 3 of that game, of the original game, you were basically in kind of the sewer system, in the sewer system with the Sigma Palace. But in this game, you are in the sort of palatial halls of the Sigma Palace here in the PSP version of the game. We don't really have that great of an indication of who you're fighting for this first section, but you can kind of get the hint by those tanks, by those turrets that shoot fire, that maybe it's Chill Penguin. And honestly, of all of the sections of the Sigma Palace, this one probably does the poorest job of communicating. Well, no, actually, this one and the next one do the poorest job of communicating which boss you're going after first. You'll be going after for the end of that little segment. So the Chill Penguin segment honestly doesn't do that great of a job of telegraphing that you're going after Chill Penguin first, but that's just the way it is. Overall, I really like the idea of more actively telegraphing which boss you're going after in the palace, but the Chill Penguin section and the next section doesn't really do that great of a job. Chill Penguin still exactly the same as it was before, still has that shotgun ice attack that's much more difficult to that new shotgun ice attack that's very difficult to deal with, and contact damage is obviously still the worst thing that could happen to you in this game, so make sure you don't come into contact with Chill Penguin when you fight him. This section here does absolutely no work at all to try to telegraph who the next boss you're fighting is. Honestly, this section and the previous section don't do that good of a job of telegraphing who the boss is going to be. The more I look at this, the more I really do wish that they had. Well, first of all, I wish that they had ported Maverick Hunter X to PlayStation 4. I wish there was some sort of a remaster or port of this for PlayStation 4. exclusively for PS4 and PS5. I really wish that there was just some sort of way to play this there. I know it's on. I know it was put on the PlayStation Network. I'm not sure if this is actually on the current PlayStation Network catalog that they have. I hope it is, but honestly, I hope that they just fully remake this, or not remake it, but remaster it and put this on PS5 or PS4, just so we can just so we can have some more movement with the Mega Man X franchise again. Because I don't know. The more I look at this, the more I wish that they had just gone in on remaking more of the Mega Man X games like this. So we could have had a Maverick Hunter X2, Maverick Hunter X3, so on and so forth. Maybe even a Maverick Hunter Extreme and Maverick Hunter Extreme 2. I don't know. That would be spin-offs of spin-offs, which that would be, that would be a whole thing. Flame Mammoth here. Just like Launch Octopus, you can do the same thing you did in the SNES version, which is cut off the trunk with the boomerang weapon. Takes, I think I saw it took 4 hits there to make it happen, but still weak to Storm Tornado. Still basically the same fight. It takes a little bit longer to deal with him because, again, Maverick's bosses in Maverick Hunter X and back in Mega Man Powered Up as well just have very long invincibility frames in between when they get hurt, so that they have more chance to retaliate and make life difficult for you. But, it's just the way it is. Compared to Mega Man Powered Up hard mode, Maverick Hunter X hard mode is much more manageable. And that comes in, that in part comes from the comes just from the fact that you get all the armor and heart tanks and stuff, and even the most difficult sections of Maverick Hunter X can still be difficult, but they suddenly become a little bit more manageable as compared to before. We're now coming up to the end of Sigma Palace Stage 3, and we are about to have a cutscene. You may be wondering, why are we going to have a cutscene for D-Rex when we didn't for Bow Spider and Rang Bangda, but here we go.
Zero!
You're no different than Zero. You worried about Sigma when you should have been worried about me.
Vile! You...
I guess my destroying you here is all part of Sigma's plan. I don't usually like following other people's plans. What? Zero! You're harder to destroy than I thought!
X, there's nothing more you can do. It's over! Zero! Zero!
Hope you're ready, X!
It's because we never had our boss fight with Vile back in Sigma Stage 1, because they moved all of that here to Sigma Stage 3. I don't mind it one way or another, it's fine. Vile fights very similar to how he did in the original X. He can charge at you, he can fire his shoulder cannon at you, he can fire those shots that go along the ground, he can fire a full beam that can do some pretty devastating damage. He fires his regular gun there.
Rolling field!
Lose to X!
Zero! Hang in there, buddy!
X, I'm always telling you to be more careful. But now look at me.
Don't waste your energy talking, Zero. We gotta fix you up.
There's no time for that. Sigma is close. Very close.
Zero.
Go now. Maverick Hunter X.
all the regular stuff that Vile does. We'll have more of an opportunity to talk about what he's up to, because we're going to be fighting him now without the arm parts, similar to what we did in the original Mega Man X. Vile is weak to both Armored Armadillo and Launch Octopus, just as he was in the original X, so use whichever one you want. They are both perfectly effective. Vile is showing off a lot of the abilities that he is going to have for his own playthrough. Not all, but some of the abilities he has for his own playthrough. So, you know, get introduced to his napalm, to his cherry blast, to his shoulder cannon. We'll be talk about those in more depth in his playthrough.
I can't lose to X.
Zero! Hang in there, buddy!
X, I'm always telling you to be more careful. But now look at me.
Don't waste your energy talking, Zero. We gotta fix you up.
There's no time for that. Here, take my arm parts. Use them on Sigma.
Zero.
Go now. Maverick Hunter X.
The Zero Buster is better than the arm parts that Dr. Light gives you. They just are. It charges up faster. It is overall just better to use the Zero Buster as compared to the Dr. Light X Buster upgrade. It is just better. So if you want to have the best New Game Plus file possible, I would recommend you hold off on getting the arm parts until Sigma Palace Stage 3, so you can have the Zero Buster for the best possible version of X. It's not, that much better. It's not that much of an improvement, but it is an improvement. It is a little bit better than Dr. Light's charged up Buster upgrade. The Zero Buster is a little bit better. D-Rex fights just as he did in the original Mega Man X. The one difference is he never speeds up when he gets weaker, so the original D-Rex got faster and faster with everything it did in the original X, but in Maverick Hunter X it never does. So that's one way that this is a little bit easier compared to before. So yeah. As I was saying, if you want to have the best New Game Plus file possible, I would recommend holding off on getting the arm parts from Dr. Light and just get them from Zero here instead, and then collect the and then after you get the Zero Buster, collect the Fireball and the Hadouken from Armored Armadillo after this stage. After completing the stage with the Zero Buster in hand. Because as we'll see in a second, you can still get the Fireball after getting the Zero Buster. You don't need to have all the Dr. Light upgrades, you just need to have a full Armor X, along with all the hard tanks and all the sub-tanks in order to get access to the Fireball here. So, yeah, I would recommend you go ahead and get the Zero Buster. It's just much better. Charges up a little bit faster, it's more powerful. Anyway, Sigma Palace, Stage 4. It's time to go after Sigma, right after I refill all my sub-tanks, which I did in between. So here we go. It's time for the final stage of the game. Hooray! Sigma Stage 4, exactly the same as it was in the original, caterpillars and all. It's all here as it was. So here we go. Cutscene.
I see a new clarity in your eyes. You are no longer troubled.
What you've done is unforgivable, Sigma!
X, that look in your eyes makes me think you might be ready to face me. But why don't you try this on for size first?
Alright, Sigma's voice actor is fantastic, by the way. Love the Sigma voice actor. Same exact lineup of bosses as they were in the original. First up we have Velgader, Sigma's wolf. Operates almost exactly the same as it did before. It can still charge, still run at you, still shoots fire, still shoots ice, still can jump up and down the walls. Yeah, it's almost exactly the same fight. The fire works a little bit differently than it did. It goes along the ground and then goes up the wall, as opposed to the original, where it just sort of kind of followed X if it could. Overall, the strategy for Velgader has not changed. You want to take as little damage from Velgader as possible because you want to conserve as much as possible for the next boss fight. And yes, I say the next boss fight, not for the final boss fight, for the next boss fight. This stage changes things up quite a bit when it comes to Sigma and Volgader Sigma. When it comes to Volgader himself, it's basically the same thing. As soon as you kill him, charge, change to Electric Spark, get ready for a cutscene, get ready for Sigma himself. Here we go.
Impressive, X. It looks like you really do have the potential I had seen in you. Our potential is limitless.
You think you have potential? You're insane, Sigma!
That's not what you really think. You say you believe in justice, but that's not true. You've only been led to think that. Nothing more. I'll take you on.
Okay, so Sigma Phase 1 is way more difficult than he was in the original game. First off, you can't do the thing that I did in the original game where I hung on the wall and got Sigma to land at the same place every time to hit him and basically get where I could never take damage. You can't do that anymore. First of all, Sigma has that attack where he can just dive down to the ground with his saber to catch you off guard. He can also fire pellets from his head, from his forehead gem to try to catch X off guard as well. Because of the size of the models and the size of the rooms, you can no longer do the previous strategies. Sigma is a lot more difficult because of that. Because of the size of the room, the size of the models, the size of the hitboxes, and the two new attacks Sigma has to take him off the pattern that he previously had. He is much more difficult here than he was in the original Mega Man X. He's an actual boss fight here. Still has the same weakness, still weak to Electric Spark, still should be using it, but his two new attacks now just make it that much more difficult to catch him, to put him in a loop where you will always win. So don't expect to take advantage of that anymore. You just have to jump up the walls, get Sigma to follow you, keep on your toes, because he is occasionally going to throw you off with the dive attack or with the forehead gem, pellet blasts. Just be careful. Compared to the original Mega Man X, this is a much more difficult boss fight than the original SNES version. Sigma Phase 1 is much more difficult. To counter that, however, Phase 2 is going to be a lot easier. Here is the end of Phase 1.
I should have known you could do it, X. Magnificent, X. And to think you've been classified as a B-class hunter.
Sigma, your Maverick plan stopped right here!
It's not over yet, X. The battle, the angst, the destruction. I will make you understand the true potential of Reploids.
I'll finish this! Right here, right now! I will defeat you, Sigma!
The battle and the angst. It's time for the final boss against Volgader Sigma. It is much easier to take out Volgader Sigma in this game as compared to the original. First of all, again, the size of the room, the size of the hitboxes, they work to your detriment in Sigma Phase 1 because of just how agile he is. In Sigma Phase 2, it is so much easier, first of all, to wall climb and just get on top of his paws there to get in a free shot with Armored Armadillo. It's still his weakness, by the way. It's so much easier to climb up because the paws aren't moving anymore, so that's one big advantage already. His attacks are much slower. His flamethrower is much easier to deal with. He doesn't do the electric ball thing anymore. He has a new variation of the electric attack, which is still pretty devastating, but it's much easier to deal with compared to before. And you can jump high enough that you can actually hit the side of the paw and actually climb up it like a wall. The size of the room works to your detriment in the boss fight against Sigma Phase 1, but in Sigma Phase 2, it works completely to your advantage. He has two new attacks, the electricity thing and the laser thing. The laser thing is super slow. Just get under a pod to not take damage from it. Very easy to deal with. The electricity thing is much more difficult to deal with, where he very quickly shoots down a bolt of lightning that hits the entire ground. It's much more difficult to deal with than the electric balls from the original game, but I mean, it's like the only thing that he does that is probably going to do damage to you. He still does a lot of damage. He's still the final boss, but it is just so much slower. Man. downgrade. Anyway, that's the end of the X playthrough. I will see you all next time for the very first episode of the Vile playthrough. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy the ending of X's story. Bye-bye.
What's this?
My name is Thomas Light. I am the researcher who designed and built Mega Man X. I granted X special powers that no other robot possesses. Utilizing his conscience, he is able to think, worry, and act entirely of his own accord. This means that he is also imbued with the materials necessary to facilitate the evolution of robots in the same manner as life. It is an unfortunate fact that human life is short and fleeting. I fear that I will not have the time to ensure the safety of the X project. That is why I have decided to seal him away. Perhaps he will be discovered in the far-flung future and will fight valiantly to ensure peace for all people. Yes, I firmly believe that this will come to pass. But I am not without worry. I fear that X will be swept up in the war we call progress. I urge the people of the future to remember that X is my, nay, the world's hope.
One is for you.